Okay, today we are doing 6-4, which is about rectangles. We're going to be able to recognize and apply properties of rectangles and determine whether parallelograms are rectangles. So what a rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. And so it follows a lot of the same properties as our parallelograms do. Only the right angles make a little bit of a difference, a couple things. So, for all 4 angles are right angles, so they're all equal to 90 degrees. Opposite sides are parallel and congruent. That's just like it is with a parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent because they're all 90 degrees. So again, just like a parallelogram. And consecutive angles are supplementary because 90 plus 90 will equal 180. And just like with a parallelogram, our diagonals bisect each other. So the only thing that makes a rectangle special is that all 4 of its angles are right angles. So the other way that we can tell that a parallelogram is a rectangle is if its diagonals are congruent. So these cross lines have to be congruent to each other. So if diagonals are congruent, it's a rectangle. If it's a rectangle, then diagonals are congruent. Those are our 2 theorems. So we're going to turn over and look at some examples. Alright, so we have construction. A rectangular garden gate is reinforced with diagonal braces to prevent it from sagging. If JK, this cross one, equals 12 feet, and LN, which is half of a diagonal, 6.5, find KM. Alright, so KM is a full diagonal. And because of what I know about diagonals, KM has to be congruent to LJ. And LJ is equal to LN plus NJ. And I also know that LN and NJ are congruent because of the midpoint, cutting it directly in half. So LN and NJ are the same. So I have 6.5 plus 6.5 equals 13, and that's the whole length of LJ. And since LJ is the same as KM, that's 13 feet. All right, let's move on to our next one. So I have the quadrilateral RSTU is a rectangle. If the measure of angle RTU, so this angle here, is 8x plus 4, and the measure of SUR is 3x minus 2, find x. Alright, so if I look at this in terms of opposite angles, this angle here, 3x minus 2, is actually going to be the same as the other half of angle T here. And the 2 angles together would be equal to 90 degrees because all of our angles are equal to 90 degrees, they're right angles. So I have each of those angles together equals 90 degrees. Now I'm going to combine like terms. They're on the same side, so we're just adding them together. Then we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Divide by 11. X equals 8. Okay. Moving on. Some artists stretch their own canvas over wooden frames. This allows them to customize the size of a canvas. In order to ensure that the frame is rectangular before stretching the canvas, an artist measures the sides and the diagonals of the frame. If AB equals 12 inches, BC equals 35, CD equals 12, DA equals 35, BD equals 37, and AC equals 37. Explain how the artist can be sure the frame is rectangular. So I have two sets of congruent sides. So opposite sides are congruent. And I know that if I have opposite sides congruent, it's a parallelogram. And since it's a parallelogram that has diagonals that are congruent, they're the same measure, it's a rectangle. So that's all there is to that. So lastly, we have quadrilateral JKLM has the vertices J, negative 2, 3, K, 1, 4, L, 3, negative 2, and M, 0, negative 3. Determine if it's a rectangle by using the distance formula. So our distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So I'm going to draw my rectangle JKLM. And I'm going to focus on my diagonals, which are going to be K to M and J to L. So we're going to do the distance formula for K to M. So I have x is 1 and x is 0 squared, y is 4 and y is negative 3 squared. So that gives me 1 squared plus 7 squared, 1 plus 49. So I have square root 50 for my first one.